Have you ever heard of Inspector Gadget? It was an animated children's television program from the mid-1980s starring a bumbling half-man, half-robot detective who had a nose for trouble and a penchant for putting his robotic tools to good use. He was often rescued by his niece Penny and his dog Brain, because it had been a run-on thing in television programs for years to depict middle-aged white men as helpless and incompetent. Gadget's character was seemingly based off of Get Smart's Maxwell Smart, who was played by Gadget's voice actor Don Adams. As for me, honestly, I disgust myself. I'm an aging porn movie director from the American 1970s. Which films did I direct? Oh, I'm not saying. I learned of the VHS tape while videotaping my then-client Melania. We were filming the scene in which an orange chimpanzee with hair plugs wins the United States presidency. But then the phone rang. It was my psychiatrist. He informed me that the 70s had ended over 30 years ago. It was a new age now. A new millennium. He informed me that Melania was just a hallucination from a melatonin overdose, and that I only watched porn. I didn't direct it. I looked down at my penis. The fiery orange ape was just Cheeto crumbs that coated my man-appendage from years of isolated, musty, basement-y masturbation. I thanked my psychiatrist for the culture shock and hung up the phone. Sadly, I went to browse my VHS tape collection in hopes of securing some quality, conciliatory entertainment. Oh, just browsing over the titles. Springtime for Hitler, Bonzo Goes to Hell, Sonic Does Chronic, Super Wario STD Land. Oh, no, those were my Super Virtual Boy games. Finally, I stumbled, quite Inspector Gadgetly I may add, upon a promising selection. Inspector Gadget in The World is a Vampire. Well, that was funny. I didn't know that they'd made a Halloween episode of Inspector Gadget. I read the summary on the backside of the slipcase. Get used to an eternity of involuntary virginity as Inspector Gadget solves the mystery of why you choose to wake up in the morning? Eat shit and die. Huh. Well, that summary sent a chill down my spine. I was really morbidly curious about the contents of the program. Clearly someone who didn't like me wrote it. Let me tell you, friend. Curiosity killed the cat, and it also murdered my erection. And my nervous system. Nervously. Instead of going straight to the show, there was a promo, but not for another tape. It was for Campbell's Soup. But it wasn't a normal soup advert. It began with a couple fucking each other doggy style while a dude yanked on his blonde babe's hair and pretended to be Dudley Do-Right. As he came, he let out a scream. I mounted you like a real Mountie! Highly realistic semen splurted all over the bedroom floor while his penis tossed it around like a garden hose. Or perhaps a fire hydrant. I hope you like my special broth, the man hissed, but with a demonic laugh. At that point I was scared. Campbell, it tastes better than being cum-shot to death, a narrator character who sounded like Tex Avery's droopy dog asserted. At this point, I had two choices. I could shut off the tape in anger and disgust, or I could keep on watching and just hope for the best. I had nothing else to do other than call my therapist back and force my deteriorated psyche and delirious delusions of personal grandeur to go away, but instead I continued watching the tape. When the theme song finally arrived, I breathed a sigh of relief, until I'd witnessed how horrifically the introductory sequence had changed. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do, pew, pew, do-do-do, pew, pew, do-do-do, 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 do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, Inspector Faggot, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, he smokes, do-do-do-do-do, Inspector Faggot, smoking all them bowls. Go, faggot, go! Inspector Faggot on a cigarette or two. Inspector Faggot, Camel cigarettes are good for you. I was speechless. First there was all that sex. Now drugs? What was next? Rock and roll? I know that those lyrics sounded like they're anti-homosexual, but really it's just English slang to refer to cigarettes as faggots. So there was no anti-gay slurring involved, thankfully, but I mean, come on. This cartoon was for children, right? Who is all this vulgarity engineered for? You're children! Inspector Gadget fired back at me, eyes bloodshot with the bionic arm shoveled into his pants. He looked disheveled. Just kidding! You can't have children because no one but your hand would have sex with you! He removed his hands from his pants and pushed it toward the screen. His fingers were covered in blood. The screen faded out with an oozing blood effect that changed from a crimson-red hue to a lifeless black. I was so mesmerized by the unfolding of events that my eyeballs may as well have been glued to the TV set with industrial-strength Gorilla Glue. The strongest glue known to man. The rest of the episode finally began. Inspector Gadget was in the kitchen cooking breakfast for Penny and Brain. Now, at first you might think that that's sweet and innocuous and cute, but then Gadget spoke up again. How do you like your kibble, Penny? He sarcastically inquired. Shut the fuck up, Uncle Gadget. I'm not a dog. Yeah, but you are a bitch. Oh, great. Cursing and family feuding. Who wrote this show? Ray Combs? Louis Anderson? Or maybe even Richard Karn. Anyway, all three of them chowed down on their dog food before Gadget pulled his chair away. Aw, shit, he began. I need to get to CVS and pick up my herpes medication. All right, I didn't know that Inspector Gadget had herpes. Go, Gadget steroids, he exclaimed before shooting himself with a syringe and bursting with the ravenous energy through the kitchen window. Glass shards impaled Mr. Gadget's arms, legs, neck, and torso. But he didn't seem to care as he kept on racing through the street, his eyes now having turned completely blood red. The next part was even worse. Go, Gadget! Original sin! The bionic arm burst out of his leg with a scissory attachment, cutting off the inspector's pants. He was running naked now. Oh, I stared on in horror as Inspector Gadget pulled an apple out of his detective hat and took a bite. Then he tossed it down a sewer drain. I guess that part didn't offend me as much, though seeing Mr. Gadget's uncovered man parts was disturbing, to say the least. There were leprous white spots and bite marks on his junk. I knew I shouldn't have been looking, but this was all so unusual. I couldn't help myself. By the time he walked up to the CVS pharmacy, I realized what was really going on. The customers, the employees, the people browsing the magazines who obviously weren't going to buy anything. Everyone in the store was naked. They had white spots all over their genitalia. A newspaper adorned the front counter with an ominous headline. The camera zoomed aggressively in on it. A leper never changes his spots. 4 more years of Trump! Inspector Gadget triumphantly yelled, seemingly happy with the election results. How did I know that? Well, let me tell you. The date on the newspaper read November 4th, 2020. President Trump's campaign opponent, California Senator Jaleel Ahmad White, had conceded the race. And I conceded my sanity. The scene skipped to Dr. Claw in his hideout. We never did see his face, but I wasn't the kind of guy to obsess over seeing another man's face. Dr. Claw was petting his cat.
"Grab him by the pussy,"
he muttered while smoke rose from his office chair off into the distance. There was a cigarette pack on his desk. Camels. I just kept on watching the nonsensical mess. Apparently Dr. Claw was planning an attack on Trump Tower, which had become the new White House at this point. The final scene began in Inspector Gadget's bathroom. Inspector Gadget was lying in the bathtub when he got a call from the police chief. Gadget didn't move. He just stared upward at the bathroom ceiling as if he was dead. The answering machine played. "Leave a message before I self-destruct." "Gadget?" The police chief's voice rang out. "Put down your faggot and answer the phone." Gadget didn't move. The sound of the chief hanging up the phone was heard, and then there was the sound of a bathtub filling up with water. I let out a shriek. Inspector Gadget was a cyborg. He was full of machinery. Inspector Gadget was electrocuted. Then he exploded. Highly realistic blood, gore, organs, and Gadget toys covered the cartoon screen as the episode came to a screeching halt. There were no credits. Just static. I shut off the VCR and tried to get to sleep, but it was no use. Who would make an episode of a children's cartoon like that? It was so strange. I wondered who turned on the bathtub. It was an obvious scheme to murder Inspector Gadget, but who and why? Could it have been Brain? Wouldn't have been Penny. Dr. Claw? The CVS pharmacy guy? I didn't know. All I knew was I couldn't get to sleep. It was 3:11 in the morning when the pharmacy rang, saying my medication was available. I didn't give a shit. I just let it keep ringing. Then there was another call, and another message was left. It was my therapist. "Your sanity's running out of time, Tim," he explained. "Meet me at my office, or you're fired." Well, that was enough to get me moving. Downtown Chicago. The streets were filled with life because the Chicago Cubs had just won the World Series. My boss lived in a converted 7-Eleven. He ran his psychiatric practice there. He was both my therapist and, I also called him my boss because my fragile psyche and frequent appointments was making him some serious money. He was engineering me to be this way, but I trusted him. Spirit of capitalism, you understand. The door creaked as I opened it. "Did you take your pills?" Oh, that was his usual greeting, so no surprise there. I wolfed down a bag of Skittles and drank a gallon of liquid melatonin. "Yeah, I'm good now." "Good. Oh, and by the way..."
"You killed your fucking family!"
"Yeah, I know," casually replied. He turned on the television. There was a big orange fire at Trump Tower. No one cared to put it out. People were set aflame, jumping out of windows. It was disturbing. I felt nauseous watching it. I threw up on my therapist's floor. All the technology in the world couldn't save them, my boss muttered. "You should go home. Get some sleep." "I can't sleep." "Sure you can." "No, I can't." "Why?" Why? That was a good question. It's only one word, but it was a very powerful one. I thought it over. "Immorality?" timidly posited. "Ah, that's right, Tim." "There's no fix for this, Tim." So I went home, play with my power tools for a little. I grunted to myself, trying to prove how much of a man I was to myself, but if I was a man, why had everyone abandoned me? I laid down in the bathtub, playing with my various electronic power tools. pondering the meaning of all things. That's when it all hit me. The world is a vampire, I muttered to myself. Set to drain. I tossed around my plugged-in power drill until the sounds of running water pierced my ears, my heart, and my soul.